Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee. We're here at the Dickinson County Museum once again. Mary is out of town, so I get to talk with my old friend, old broadcast workmate, Mark Mayer. You're my old friend. I just can't remember your name, Mayer.
Okay, Jeff Thee, so.
Yeah, there you go. Tit for tat. Oh my goodness! You know, you do a lot of work here at the museum, Mark, and I know you're archiving and scanning and with the thousands and thousands of pictures to give them some semblance of order and in category of years and names and where it happened, that sort of stuff. And this is one that you've been working on for a while.
Well, we'll eventually do a program. It's on the Donaldson family.
Yeah.
And it started because I looked at L.F. Williams, and who took him up in an airplane was one of the Donaldson brothers. So then I started to look up the Donaldson family. Well, I'm going to break this into two parts, and I'm not going to cover only the first part of this because there was four brothers that ended up starting a flying service after they came back from World War I. And they had 10 airplanes when the whole state of Iowa had 18.
Wow. And I'm assuming they were pilots.
They were all
in
four
World War
pilots.
I. Okay.
Or two of them were pilots in World War I, the others were pilots. And the reason they had those 10 airplanes was they were going on shows. They took the shows and did flying circuses, including things like wing walking.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, they went all over.
These are daredevils.
They were daredevils. And so, where did this come from? Well, it came from Rube. That was the dad, Reuben. And Reuben came to the area in 1881, farmed for 10 years. Then he went out, because he apparently had the gift of gab. He went out and became a traveling salesman. But in 1904, he says, you know what? Cars are coming into play. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a mechanic shop. Well, what led from the mechanic shop, first off, he brought the first car in to Milford, okay?
Yeah.
And by 1909, they were racing cars. They were building and racing cars. He was a Buick dealer. All four of his sons became mechanics. Now, he had two daughters. They didn't become mechanics, but they became successful later on. The whole family was driven and successful.
Yes.
That's what they were. So he goes out, he starts racing automobiles. Well, like I say, 1909. Well, the way it culminates, which is kind of fascinating, is that he's got all four boys involved, and they build a race car, and they go to enter it in the Indianapolis 500, and they accept it. This is 1915.
Okay.
They wouldn't let him drive the car, because they said, you do not have enough experience on this track.
Okay.
So they said, okay, we won't drive the car. So it was the number 28 car, and it finished 11th in the Indianapolis 500. Now that was an accomplishment back in those days.
Well, sure.
They still had 33 cars in the race, I think.
Right. So they had somebody else drive that vehicle.
They had somebody else drive the vehicle, and they had a mechanic that had to ride with at that time. You didn't just get in the car, because the cars were, they were super powerful. One of the things that happened is down in Sioux City, Rube drove the car. A little later in 1915, there was a fire in the last 2 laps. They went in, put out the fire, plugged something in, and he finished the race in 4th place and won $1,000. So I mean, you had to have a traveling mechanic.
Okay, very good.
But as I say, this was how it was. Now, the tragic thing happened to him. People don't realize that the Dickinson County Fair had a fairground.
You told me that when I was here 2-3 weeks ago, and you said, Jeff, have you ever heard that there was a racetrack? No. Jackson was the closest one that I know of.
Right, and it was basically for horse races, and I think it was either a quarter or a half-mile track. Hopefully you'll put a picture up of it. But it was a very dirt track. It was black dirt, and I don't think it was really packed down that well. Well, In August 13th of 2015,
1915 maybe?
1915. See, got to refer to my notes. They decided to enter 3 cars in that race. And there was 4 boys in the family. Grant was 1 car driver, Orville was another, Fabius, which is an unusual name, drove also, and he was a pilot eventually, and Lou, who actually drove. They all 4 drove cars, but in this race there was only 3 cars that entered. But on the 9th lap, and Fabius said, "Dad, don't drive. You're not good at dirt tracks. Do not drive. This is a track that is very difficult." Well, of course, he didn't listen.
Yes.
He was 45 or 48 years old.
Okay.
And he flipped the car 3 times and passed away.
Yes.
And so did his mechanic. Well, that's not the end of the story, of course. And that's where the second half is going to come in.
Okay.
But those 4 boys went on, and as I said, they opened a flying service. And, went to World War I, opened a flying service. I already told this part of the story. But all 4 boys ended up being successful. Orville and Flavius, or Grant and Flavius, went out to California and flew the mail for United Airlines.
Wow.
Both of them one of them was killed in a crash in 1930, the other one had a crash in 1928, but he worked for the airlines the rest of his life.
Okay.
Orville came back and worked in Milford for a while, and then he went up to Lake Park and ran the utility company up there, the First Electric Company, and eventually he ended up being mayor of Milford.
How Pete? They were goers, weren't they?
They were goers.
Yeah.
Then Lou sold real estate, and talking to and looking up stuff, he was successful, very successful at selling real estate. So it's like I said, they were a family. Little things were popping up in my research. One of the things was they had an article in the Milford Mail about, they've done it again. The Donaldson family now has the first wireless radio. If you want to come hear what wireless radio is about, just come on down to the Donaldson garage and they'll show you how it works.
And listen to it. Wow.
Yeah, like I said, they were just innovators.
Yeah.
And successful.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a family, and believe it or not, there are still relation and descendants that are up here.
Wow.
And this started clear back in, like I said, 1904 was when he brought the first car in, and then to Milford, and they just continued to thrive.
It's amazing to me how when they brought the first car in, and it wasn't that long after, they were racing cars around here.
And the thing is, they built the car.
Yeah.
I mean, you had 4 boys and a dad, and they built that car. And they sold it after the accident, and they sold all the race cars after the accident. Okay. But those cars raced for another 2 or 3 years with whoever they were with. So, I mean, they were built well, super powered, and that's what they did.
Well, the other question I have is, any idea how fast these super powered,
Well, I think super powered, you got to remember you're looking at dirt tracks or minimum. And I think probably 80.
Okay.
That would be a guess.
That would have been fast.
I mean, looking at some of the, when you're in the Indianapolis 500, you have to figure, well, they didn't, probably on the straightaways they were going close to 100.
Yeah.
But they averaged somewhere between 70 and 80 for the whole race, which, that's pretty good.
And to build a car and go, we're going to enter this in the Indianapolis 500.
And then go qualifying and qualify. And which led to them doing this tour of racetracks and stuff, because that's how you made your money.
Yeah.
You raced and you got paid for appearances, I believe. But they won $1,000 in Sioux City. So, $1,000 in 1915, equivalent of about $10,000 now.
Yeah.
So, interesting family. If anybody is, knows something about the family, or anybody is interested in something about the family, we're going to do a program on it later. I know there's at least 2 relatives that are in this area that I know of, and I just didn't want to bring their names up and stuff, but I imagine if they see this, they will come and call us and talk to us about it. So
might even have some pictures or something to share. You never know.
You never know, because like I said, that it is an interesting part of our history with people who are interesting. The one final note I'll give you is when they were doing their flying circus before they moved out west, they had an advertisement for the flying circus in Sioux Falls. They had already taken up 8,000 people on very safe flights, and I thought, okay.
It's just, that's why I love putting these on the show and everything, because the group of people you have here, Mark, you just keep, we think, Dickinson County's only been around, 150 years or whatever it is. And we've probably unlocked about as much history as we're going to find. You guys keep finding what Mary calls the rabbit holes. This happened. Let's find out why and how and who is involved in, like this with the Donaldson brothers.
Well, yeah, it all started because I looked up L.F. Williams, and on the side of the airplane, of the one airplane, was the Donaldson brothers.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what's this all about?
What's the deal on that?
Yeah, and I asked somebody way back Wednesday, they used to race. And everybody had thought that they raced on the roads around Spirit Lake, as did I. But they didn't.
There was a racetrack.
There was a racetrack.
My goodness. How exciting. Well, thank you for investigating that, and I know it's fun for you, but it's fun to hear and learn more about our area. This past weekend, you had the family fun, Life on the Prairie, and with the wagon in the back and discussing, we're moving from the East Coast to this place in Iowa. You can take one thing. You had families here? How'd it go?
They had 25 people, which was about what they expected. They didn't want over 30. They had 25. And the situation is, they even played tug of war out front. And they did load this in. And they did explain it to them. And my wife was here, and she said a lot of those kids were in awe.
Yeah.
They just were in awe about, this, I don't know what I take with. I don't know what I do.
Yeah.
They were just totally, and it is a hard situation. And it was fun. We do have a program coming up in November. I'm sure Mary will tell you what it is, but we do have a program in November. Somewhere on down the line, we are going to do a whole series, an hour probably long program on the Donaldsons, because I've just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So we'll go from there.
Much more to come, as Johnny Carson used to say as he'd go to a break. So very good. All right. Well, Mark, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your investigation, and thank you to everybody here. And we say it a lot, where history comes alive, but you guys are making it come alive, and we're able to relive it in some ways. So thank you.
You bet.
All right, Mark Mayer again here with us, everybody. And we want to thank him for his time. We thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast.
Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by West Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. The headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.